Lane Kiffin really had the opportunity in that town where there's not a professional sports team in that region. There's not even a professional sports team in that state. He had the opportunity from a power perspective to be the most powerful man in that state. Not even just in that town, but in that state. He had the opportunity to do that, and he decided, no, I'm going to go over there and shack up with LSU, who already has a reputation, who already has the mass amount of resources. They've won natties in recent memory. They've already done that without you, Lane Kiffin. So he goes from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a river. And if he's okay with that, cool, but you are going to be a blip, because what this really is coming to be about is legacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. And in today's video, we discuss the big talk of college football surrounding the move made by former Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. Kiffin took an offer from LSU worth up to $91 million after making the announcement Sunday. And of course, Ole Miss fans and college football fans were not happy with the decision. And it has been the talk of the town since. So today, we will discuss our thoughts on the move made, if we think it was the right decision or not, and what this means for both Ole Miss and LSU in the future. But before we go any further, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Check out our latest vids as well. Make sure you have those notifications on for any new vids dropping. And comment if you agree with the move made by Kiffin. Now, Bardo, after seeing Kiffin take the offer to go down to Baton Rouge, what were your thoughts on his decision to leave, as well as your thoughts on the athletic director deciding not to allow Kiffin to finish the season he started and coach the Rebels throughout the playoffs?
My thoughts on Lane Kiffin deciding to leave is that Lane Kiffin is behaving like a petulant child. I think that his pure decision of wanting to make the move to LSU is warranted. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think any of us should have a problem with a grown man deciding to make a decision that's in the best interest of him and his family. I don't think anybody that's competent, anybody is going to have any problem with that, because every single day we make those kinds of decisions. So I don't have a problem with that. You going over there to LSU with the mass amount of resources that they have at their disposal, their track record of winning, it's way more appealing than little old Oxford, Mississippi. That just kind of is the facts of the conversation. I do feel bad for those fans of Ole Miss, but my thing is that I think that from a moral perspective, I think that Ole Miss fans as well as college football fans are winning this breakup, because Lane Kiffin is continuing to make himself look like an ass, which is something that he is customarily known to do if you just date back to his entire track record. His entire track record speaks for itself, and I think that that's where this situation is multifaceted. I think I was talking to my dad about this, and when we talk about this Lane Kiffin situation, it's not black and white. It's not black and white to say that Lane Kiffin is completely in the right or that he's completely in the wrong. It's not black and white to say that the Ole Miss fans are completely in the right and they're completely in the wrong. There's definitely a lot of different shades of gray to this dialogue, but what I will not do is feel any type of sympathy for one Lane Kiffin. You're not a victim, Lane Kiffin, in this situation. You are not. And I think that a conversation that is not truly being had is about the kids. That, in my opinion, are the true victims of this situation. My analogy that I have been making over the course of the last few days to this situation is Lane Kiffin is that dad. He is that husband that has decided to leave his family and go be with another woman and go start a completely different family, and showed no type of remorse, no type of emotion for the kids. But he wants to come to the birthday parties, and he wants to come to Christmas, he wants to come to the holidays, and he wants to give the kids a big gift. No, absolutely not. Stay your ass where you are with your new family, because what you're doing is you are playing with the emotions of the children. And I think that that's what people are not taking into account. From a psychological perspective, what type of program or organization would allow this man who has decided to take on another job at another program, would allow him to come back to coach these kids while they're trying to make a national championship run? It doesn't really make any fucking sense to me. And I think that that's what people are not realizing. There you got your idiots on ESPN that are talking about, oh, that this is your opportunity to win a college football. No, it's not about that. It's about, we have kids in this program that majority of the kids that go to Ole Miss, and majority of kids that are at any collegiate program, they are not going to go to the NFL. They're not. What parents do when they send their kids to a program is that they are sending their kids to a program so that they can not just become professional athletes, but that they can actually mold into young men that are going to go into the workforce, that are going to have careers. And that's what the coach ends up becoming. The coach ends up becoming a parental, borderline, a father figure to these kids, and their responsibility is to shape these kids' future. That's what they're supposed to be doing, not making it all about winning. And yes, winning is immensely important, extremely important. But in my opinion, what is more disruptive is giving these kids false hope. Because Lane Kiffin is not going to be there next year. Okay, so what? You make all of this hullabaloo and you work into the college football player. Lane Kiffin is clearly compromised. He is clearly compromised because his future is already guaranteed. He already assigned his $13 million 7-year contract for $91 million. He's already signed on that on the dotted line. You cannot be half in and half out when it comes to these college kids, man. You cannot. So the best decision that Ole Miss could have made was to been like, no, bro, you are not allowed to come back over here. We're also not gonna give you the opportunity to bolster your ego and your reputation and your resume by giving you the opportunity and placing you in a situation to win a natty. We're not gonna do that, bro. We're not gonna do that because you have already made your decision. You have made that bet and you got to lie in. And I think that that's what Lane Kiffin doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to take that villain role. He really doesn't want to own up to being the villain of college football. But that is what he has become because of these stupid comments that he's making after the fact. It's really after the fact. That's like really my biggest problem with all of this dialogue is what he's saying after the fact. He's talking about, oh, I don't know how much money and oh, I had to pray on this and this and that. And I'm like, okay, Lane Kiffin, all that stuff is cool, but dog, you're not getting any emotional points from the fans. Fans don't really give a damn about any of that, bro. What we care about is the fact that you are no longer there, sir. That's the whole premise, because you can make all of these, concessions, but you're not returning to Ole Miss. So it doesn't even make any sense for you to continue to harbor on the point that you're not going to be there and that you want to do this and you want to do that. You lost your opportunity to do that when you decided to take that bag elsewhere, because Lane Kiffin really had the opportunity in that town, Ole Miss, where there's not a professional sports team in that region. There's not even a professional sports team in that state. He had the opportunity from a power perspective to be the most powerful man in that state. Not even just in that town, but in that state. He had the opportunity to do that, and he decided, no, I'm going to go over there and shack up with LSU, who already has a reputation, who already has the massive amount of resources. They've won natties in recent memory. They've already done that without you, Lane Kiffin. So he goes from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a river. And if he's okay with that, cool, but you are going to be a blip, because what this really is coming to be about is legacy. Legacy is clearly something that's of importance to Lane Kiffin. In my perspective, I would not have made that decision, because look at what you have built at Ole Miss. Yes, you have to get a lot of players out of the transfer portal because the resources are not as massive as over there at those other SEC schools. Yes, that is truly the case. But Lane Kiffin, you are the selling point. You're coaching. What you do to a program and how you build it up, you are clearly the selling point. Do you not understand that, sir? When parents are asking, why should my kid be a part of your program, you say it's because of you. All the things that you have built, all the things that you have constructed over this 6-year time frame, we can attribute a large amount of that to you. I think that's what's so frustrating about this dialogue is that Lane Kiffin is clearly a great coach. He is clearly a great coach, but he is a man that has a fragile ego, and he is a man that does not want to take accountability for his decisions. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. No, sir, that is not how the world works, sir. It's not. And I think that people that are defending him, I wonder, have you ever been in a position where you had to make these types of choices? And most people are going to say yes. So my thing is, when you make a decision like this, you make that decision not just taking in all of the pros. You make that decision factoring in the cons as well. And the cons as well was that his reputation was going to take a hit. That was clearly the cons, because look at the story. The Ole Miss story over these last 6 years has been a great one. And nobody can deny that. So you deciding to leave that, to leave those kids, to leave them without a coach. And I know a lot of that is attributed to how these coaching circles work and these hiring cycles work. I understand that. but we all know that it was going to be a bad look regardless. It just was. He knew that. He knew that when he decided to take that job. He did not care. Lane Kiffin did not care about those kids. He did not care about winning, because if he cared about that, he would have stayed. And those are just the sad facts, because in my perspective, if that man were to stay and finish out his year and they made some noise in the college football playoffs, then that man would have had even more opportunities with even more, different schools if he were to complete the job and get it done. Now he has to get it done at LSU. There's no other alternative. He has to win a national championship. I say all that to say, man, Lane Kiffin, dog, you are not a victim and nobody's feeling sorry for you. You need to feel sorry for those kids. And I just don't like the fact that you have all of these stupid, idiotic media personalities that essentially they have clearly shown that all that they care about is money and winning. Because there's been a lot of disrespect to not even just the Ole Miss program, but to that town and to that state. And I do not appreciate that. I do not appreciate that at all. Because yes, there are clearly other markets and there are other programs that are sexier than Ole Miss. And yes, Mississippi does get a terrible rap, and some of that is deservingly so. But there are still a lot of good people in that area. And there are still a lot of good kids in that area that go to that school. And I just think it's honestly unfair to those kids to basically give this guy a platform to showcase his greatness when he is essentially spat in the face of those kids and those parents. That is how I feel about Lane Kiffin. So, no, there is no sympathy held towards Lane Kiffin. He made that bed. He has to lie in it. But one thing I think that Lane Kiffin is going to have to deal with is he knows deep in his heart, in his soul, he knows that probably was not the right decision to make. That's why when they ask him about, is this the right decision or not, he's going to come out and say, oh, I don't know if it's the right decision or not. Dude, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You made the decision. You decided to leave. You don't know if it's the right or wrong decision. What are you talking about, sir? You're not making any sense, because deep down he knows that was not the right decision. It was not the right decision for his legacy. Now he just becomes a blip. Just a blip in what LSU has done in recent memory. So Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, he destroyed his own legacy, and he is a fraud. Period.
Yeah, man, I absolutely agree. I don't think Lane Kiffin honestly feels like, I think he's somewhat regretting his decision. I felt like he was going to do that anyways, because, he was egging this on so long, and he was constantly talking about, man, I really still haven't came to a decision. It's going to take a lot of prayer. I'm going to have to talk to my mentors, going to have to talk to Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. And yeah, I knew he wasn't going to, fully just feel like he made the right decision. But also, like Bardo said, you're just going to have to live with your decision, Lane Kiffin. You got to understand there's a reason why the athletic director said, no, I'm not going to let you sit here and leave us, go to a rival school, and then come back and coach our team. Now, I understand why Lane Kiffin will want to, because, you still want to have that coaching staff that he has. But like I said, the athletic director, no, you're not finna sit here and just leave us like this and then think that we can just allow you to come back, finish this off. And then, he also gets a bonus as well for, the success they have in the playoffs, because he'll get $1 million bonus if they win a national championship. But I think it at least is a good thing that the OC came back, even though the OC, he left as well with Lane Kiffin. But I think it's a little better for the team that the OC at least is coming back to, help them win. But, the media has warned these college teams about Lane Kiffin for a long time, man. His track record shows. We've seen it in Tennessee, USC, Alabama. His track record shows that he's not going to sit in one place. If he feels like it's a better opportunity for Lane Kiffin, he will leave. And ever since then, he's really just been, one of those villain head coach of college football. Right now, it's kind of looking like he really doesn't see why he needs to be and this and that. But if you just look at his history, I understand why. And Ole Miss fans, like Bardo said, he's had this track record. He's been doing this. The media has been warning everybody that Lane Kiffin, if he leaves and sees something better for himself, he will leave. I really agree with Bardo as well that if he really stayed with Ole Miss, he could have been the Nick Saban of Ole Miss. He could have been, cementing his legacy. He could have had the keys to the city. He could add all these things. He turned this school around. He's gave them 11-1 record, something they haven't seen in a very long time. And now he just, up and dry and left them and went on to LSU. Now, do I think the decision is good for him? I do. but it's the timing. The timing is pretty bad. Now, I understand it that LSU really didn't. They really weren't going to sit here and let him wait till the season is over with and then decide to let him go ahead and sign with him. They were really just like, hey, man, it's either you come with us or you stay at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin said, all right, I'm going to go with y'all. Now, I believe it was Saturday. They were talking about it on the SEC network. You know, Nick Saban was putting his 2 cents in on it. And I understand, you know, what Nick Saban was saying. Lane Kiffin, he sees a better opportunity as far as recruiting when it goes to LSU compared to Ole Miss. You look at Ole Miss, most of the guys that they get are through the transfer portal. Jackson Dart, he was in the transfer portal this year. Their starting quarterback, Trinidad, transfer portal. Keywan Lacey, transfer portal. So most of their guys are coming through the transfer portal. LSU, on the other hand, LSU can get a lot of skilled guys just in the state alone. They can get the wide receivers. They can get the DBs. They can get all these guys. And then LSU also said, you know what, Lane Kiffin, on top of you come to a city or a state that'll have good kids for you to find as far as recruiting, we'll throw on top of their $30 million for NIL. We see a big problem that was coming with Lane Kiffin making the decision was everybody was saying, oh, he's going to take his staff with him. You know, he's going to recruit some of the kids over from Ole Miss to try and come over there. But I mean, if I'm being honest, he was going to do that regardless. He probably already had that in mind anyways. I already knew that he wasn't staying with Ole Miss because he was egging on this situation the entire time. If he was going to stay with Ole Miss, he would have been said, oh no, I'm loyal to this program. You know, I want to finish helping take this program to a national title and winning one. But no, he didn't do those things. So I knew he was going to leave. The situation is definitely, the timing is really a big part of it. He's definitely going to have to take that villain role because, boy, when he steps at Ole Miss, it's going to be way worse than when he went back to Tennessee. It's going to be way worse. He's going to have to make a natty for sure. All eyes are going to be on him to make a natty, more than likely to win one. But Ole Miss, the future, I don't know. We shall see. I mean, the track record of when Lane Kiffin leaves a team, besides Alabama, they don't really do so well as far as the following years. Look at USC, Tennessee. We look at when he was with the Raiders, teams that they don't necessarily do too well right after Lane Kiffin leaves. Man, right now it's really just all eyes on Kiffin, man.